So first thing I want to touch on, we do have some updated platform requirements. What I'm talking about and what I'll be demoing for you today is the Client Management Suite 7.1 SP1. SP1 was released last week. First and foremost, that brings us up to support level with Server 2008 R2 SP1. So we do now support Service Pack 1 on both 2008 and Windows 7. Our hardware requirements stay the same. And again, these are just minimums, really just guidelines to get the product installed and running. But we do need to see multiple cores at 2 gigahertz or above. We're going to want 4 gigs of memory. Although if you do want to just demo or evaluate the product, you can install with just 2 gigabytes of memory. You will need at least 20 gigabytes of disk for the solutions and some data. We do require IIS 7 with the IIS 6 compatibility tools and ASP.NET role installed. And the next important point I like to make mention of is that we do need classic.NET application pools for the Symantec Altiris products. That means that if you have multiple application pools on a server, we do need to be attached to one that's in classic.NET mode. And briefly, I just want to talk about a few of the top features with the 7.1 release. Most importantly, we have the Activity Center now. Those of you that were 7.0 customers or may still have 7.0, you're probably familiar with the deployment portal. That component of the Symantec Management Platform has really turned into something we call the Activity Center that is a true unified resource management portal within your Symantec Management Console. It's a place that you can quickly access things like computers, different jobs and tasks, manage your software, and also look at other resources. So it really gives you a single pane of glass to manage all of the resources in your endpoint infrastructure. There have been significant enhancements to software management and licensing tools, and I'll be showing you some of that today. So again, under our focus of making endpoint management easy and efficient, we want to look at things like managing a lot of various software packages, multiple versions from the same vendor, and how to discern between things like Office suites and Office applications, which I find are really trouble points for a lot of customers. So I'll show you how the product allows us to make that management a little bit easier. And of course, you may have heard IT analytics is now included. That will be another focus of today's presentation because I want to show you some features of IT analytics that really let you rapidly respond to IT management requests for different data about your endpoint infrastructure. And briefly, we will touch on the workflow solution, which is also included with the suite level purchases and get installed with your solutions. So up first, just a quick tour of the Activity Center. You'll notice that it's organized pretty similar to the way that you'd look at Outlook 2003. We have some selection panes on the left with an action pane in the middle and then a detail pane on the right. This entire interface runs on Silverlight, so it's fast. It permits drag and drop functionality. And I think that most of customers who are coming from the 6 or the 6.5 release of the platform will really be surprised at what you can do in a web interface now. And of course, we put a lot of data at your fingertips. So those of you that manage large endpoint infrastructures, you have a need to access all types of different data, and anything that we can do with the product to make that easier to access that information and spit out reports and get those to IT management, those are things that we're able to do with the new Activity Center. And of course, it's a streamlined interface that meets a lot of different UI and UX conventions, and it's easy to use. So along with our new platform, the 7.1 platform, we have increased performance because we're using 64-bit components everywhere. What this means for you is you get report results faster. We get more data analysis and more complex analysis that we can do with the included IT analytics product. Another feature of the new 7.1 release, of course, is DS, or Deployment Solution 7.1 SP1. One important piece of functionality is that we can now manage PXE from the web interface. And now with the SP1 release of the Client Management Suite, we can also manage PXE functions from the Altiris Software Development Kit. We also have full integration with software management, task server, and other solutions within the platform. Talking a little bit more about IT analytics before we get to that demo, it's in the box, meaning it comes with a suite level purchase. It's installed with your suite solutions. and just requires a bit of simple configuration after the install part. All of the configuration for our IT analytics can be done within the console. The one exception that I do want to make there is that you do need to have functioning and configured analysis services and report services for Microsoft SQL in place before you can activate and start using IT analytics. Another note I want to make is that although we standardize on SQL 2008 or 2008 R2 for our new release, you do need the SQL 2005 ADOMD.NET components in order to use some of the IT analytics features. So even if you're using SQL 2008 as your backend and for report and analysis server, you do need the 2005 components. I just wanted to touch on briefly here some of the features of IT analytics. One that comes up a lot with different customers and IT managers is that we want to have trending data. That's an important thing for management to be able to report to other departments in an enterprise. So we like to have the KPI dashboard up, and this is something that comes out of the box, is ready to use, and you can look at a lot of trending data and what the status is for various things that are going on within your infrastructure. We also have detail in there that we can actually drill down and pull out real numbers that can be presented to management upon request, and that's something I'll be demoing for you today. And very quickly, I'm just going to touch on workflow. Again, this is something in the box with a suite level purchase. I really think this adds a lot of value for all of the solutions. If you can dedicate the time and effort into customizing, building some workflows, or engaging a partner to do that for you, you can add a lot of functionality to your endpoint management product through workflow. And you can see that I'm in my Symantec management platform here, and I've loaded into the Activity Center, and right now I'm in a computers view. I also have available here within a click all jobs and tasks in my system, all policies, and all software. So the first thing I want to touch on here under computers is you can see that I have a couple of saved searches, and searches aren't really compartmentalizing resources but giving me a new view for those. So I like to think of it as a magnifying glass where I can focus on a certain type of attribute. It's very easy to go ahead and create a new view. So I'm in one called Installed Agent right now, which all this is doing is looking at my CMDB and asking me which of my resources have an installed Symantec Management Agent. I may want to add a new criteria to a search, so I can go in here and go into OS name, and I'll just add 2008. And you can see now that I've filtered down to the number of resources that I have inventory data indicating whether or not that's a 2008 release. It's very easy for me to just go ahead and save this search out, and I'll save this as 2008 endpoints. And this checkbox right here will allow me to display that in the view on the left hand side. And just a side note, when you save a search off, that's visible to the default roles in the console. So those of you that are familiar with our product, we have role-based security within our platform that we can actually grant view and edit and different privileges to user roles within that console framework to allow people to accomplish different tasks. And what I'm doing right now is in an individual view, I'm actually adding this as a piece of functionality to all users of my console that are in a default role. So working off of my new save search here, you can see I have my 2008 endpoints, and I'm just going to select the second one in the list here. And you'll notice that I have some tabs available. I can quickly check and see what my Symantec Management Agent details are, and I can also gather some network information. And everything that you're seeing in here is actually stored in my configuration management database, and it's available to different things like the reporting framework and IT analytics and workflow. I'm going to switch back to my Symantec Management Platform server because I have a little bit more information about it. And you'll notice I can quickly navigate through to find different information about this piece of hardware. I can go back and get the network information for this resource. If I'm interested in the drive configuration, I can look at that very quickly. And perhaps I want to look and see what my memory configuration is, and I can see that I have 2 gigs of RAM that are in a single slot. And I can jump down and see if I have a specific KB installed, and then maybe I want to look at the licensed software that's available on this server. And so I can look through all of that. Also at a glance, I can see any jobs and tasks that have been run against this resource. I can see any of the policies that apply to this resource. And this is another view looking at the software that's installed. So we can see in this upper pane up here under licensed programs, I actually have Adobe Flash Player 10 ActiveX installed. Well, I can actually look at that software in this view and then click on it, which takes me over to the software view and then loads that resource in the window for me, so I can make a decision about whether I do or I don't want to manage that software. And this is a nice segue into talking about software management in 7.1. So we have a lot more collapsed into a single feature point now. We can look at inventory information. We can determine whether we want to meter and track this piece of software. We can look at whether we have any software deliveries associated with this product that's been detected, and we can actually even add in our software licenses so that we can look at our counts. This is a tremendous improvement over the 6 and the 7.0 products, in that we finally have a easy-to-use, unified window to look at all of our software management needs. Now I'm just going to look over here at our Managed Software view, and you can see that I have quite a few products in here, and we'll look at Adobe Reader 9 as an example. You notice that I'm getting some information about this product right away. Because I haven't added any licenses in for this product, I'm actually over-deployed at this point. I have 12 endpoints that have the software, but I have no licenses in it. So I'm actually not compliant with my licensing stat. So as you begin to put information into your platform about license and purchase data, the calculation and the compliance data will actually be done for you automatically. So this takes a tremendous burden off of software managers, in that when we want to track the install base and the use base for that, we can do an awful lot of that in an automated fashion for you without you having to go in and build reports and build tools to do that for you. So this is a tremendous value for the software management side of the product. Switching back to computers now, and I just wanted to go in and look at my new computers list. And you can see here that I have a couple of different resources that don't have some data, but I do have other resources that are indicated as having an agent. You'll see that I'm getting a lot of information in a glance. I know who is the primary user of that resource. I know who's currently logged onto it. I know its operating system and language, and I know the time zone that they're in. This is all information that can be helpful to service desk side, especially if you're integrated with some kind of service desk product, is that as this information being part of our basic inventory, we can feed that into other systems to be used as a service desk component. Moving on to jobs and tasks, I had a few things I wanted to show today. Again, under our focus of making IT easy and efficient, I have some experience as a system administrator and a lab administrator and a help desk manager, and there are some things that I've found we're able to do in the console that can make life easy for other people. A few that I wanted to show here today, one in particular I see a lot these days, is enterprises that are integrating Mac computers into their infrastructure. A lot of those folks are using Boot Camp in order to dual boot those machines. So in particular, places like laboratories, teaching labs, training labs in commercial side, they like to put Macs in their training labs so they can dual boot those between Windows and the Mac OS and really get double the value out of those resources. What's nice about our platform is having an agent on both sides of that computer, the Mac side and the Windows side. We can actually leverage the power of Task Server to reboot those computers into one side or the other. So you can see I have the ability, if it's booted in to the Windows side, to reboot it to the Mac OS, and I can also boot it back into Windows if it's booted into the Mac side. This is something that we can do ad hoc as needed, or we can set it up to run on a schedule, leveraging the power of our Altiris Task Server. If we had a lab schedule integrated, we could say boot these Macs, you know, from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. and then for the afternoon we're going to restart, you know, certain room into the Windows side. And that's something that we can do very easily and quickly, leveraging the power of Task Server. Another request that I run into pretty frequently is people need to change the local administrator password on some of their deployed Windows endpoints. And this is an example I like to use because it shows the power of our scripting engine within the Task Server. So you can see here I have a simple command script that's going to call NetUser, tell it to change the administrator password to password 123. Very simple. Took me less than a minute to develop this task and put the script in there. Some of you that have more advanced scripting capabilities, you might decide to work in PowerShell, which is becoming popular. and some people may have very established processes within Python. And again, as long as you have the interpreter available on your endpoint, we can execute a script using Task Server to accomplish whatever you want. The possibilities really are limitless, depending on what you're able to put on your endpoints. And just a couple more examples I want to cover here in jobs and tasks. In a lot of environments, we may have software that's been deployed either by a centralized IT, or maybe a certain department, or maybe we have a rogue user going around and installing things. And from time to time, we may want to do some cleanup on the profile of that machine. And what we can do here with a task like this is actually go in and change an all users profile to remove certain start menu entries. And the example I'm showing here is for the Symantec PXE Anywhere plugin that comes with our solution. Although we don't have the ability to disable start menu entries at the rollout time, we can go back after that and clean it up using the task server very quickly and reliably, just by leveraging this task within our platform. And next, under jobs and tasks, something I wanted to share with you is the ability to take a lot of tasks and put those into a job that can then be executed in a sequence. And this particular job here is going to retire a system for me. This kind of job takes maybe just 10 or 15 minutes to go through and create all the tasks for, and then after you've done your testing, you're ready to start using it. So again, under the focus of making things easy and efficient, once you learn the language of the Symantec Management Platform, it becomes very easy for you to go through and create really cool jobs that do the things you need to get done. This particular job is going to use our personality transplant tool to capture all of the user's data, settings, and programs. Then we're going to reboot our computer into the automation mode so that we put our production operating system into an offline state. And then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to do what we call a DoD wipe. Now this matches the DoD 5520 DTM spec, which is a full 7-pass write over that drive, and it prepares it to be either surveyed out, thrown away, or transferred to some other holder. So this will do a full wipe of all this in the system that meets that DoD spec. And then the next thing we can do is go ahead and shut down that resource. What's great about a job like this is we can run it on an endpoint that's been scheduled for retirement. That machine will be totally wiped and then shut down, and then we can send somebody whose job it is to just go pick up the actual hardware and put it on a cart and take it away. They don't need to do anything else but unplug it and take it. Now just real briefly, I want to touch on a couple of things as far as deployment. One thing you'll notice is that we have the ability within our Activity Center to present web URLs. If you're a workflow user, this can be a great thing because you can set up internal workflows and then go ahead and present those in the Activity Center to your console users. If you wanted to set up a workflow, let's say to do that system retirement, without them having to have access to the task server, you can set up a simple workflow that accomplishes the same thing, and we can present that again all in the same interface. Under some more deployment jobs, just a side note here, in 7.1 we don't have native support for ImageX, but we do have the ability to script any of those jobs that we want to. So if you are currently relying on WIM format to do your OS deployments, we can still support that in 7.1. It's just going to take a little bit of setup work on your part. And of course, something else I like to do when we're talking about how to evaluate systems and support hardware independent imaging, the Deploy Anywhere tool allows us to enumerate all devices on an endpoint and compare that against our internal platform database for drivers, and we can report back vendor and device IDs that are not present so that those drivers can then be acquired and added to your database. So this is a great way to kickstart hardware independent imaging. It's something that I don't see used a lot. So the next thing I want to focus on here is getting a little bit more into IT analytics. So you may be vaguely familiar with this. Again, it is something that comes with your suite level purchase, but it brings a tremendous amount of power to your endpoint management schema. You'll notice that we've organized several cubes here. We have several dashboards available, and then we have a lot of reports, and then our key performance indicator dashboard. So I'm just going to touch on this real quickly to see some of the trending data, and while that's loading up, I'm going to switch over and look at a report I've got. So this is my computers cube. Just as an example here, I'm going to build a simple report that returns some data that maybe an IT manager has asked me for. So in this case, perhaps I've been asked to find out what manufacturer all of our endpoints are and how many HP computers we have versus Dell. And I'm even going to throw in, I have multiple domains, and I want to know where all of those live. So in the past, this might have been a little bit more difficult to accomplish with just reporting. So I'm going to do this in my computers cube in IT Analytics. I'm going to show you how fast and easy that is to do. So I'm going to activate my grid here. And I know that I want to know about manufacturer, so I'm going to drag that in as a row. And I know I want to know the total number, so I'm going to drag that in a total field. And I think that my manager wants to know which domains those are in, so I'm going to drop that in a filter field. And so you can see here very quickly, in my environment that I'm working within, I know right now the exact number of computers from each manufacturer that I have in place. Suppose my manager wants this broken down or filtered out. If they only want to know what's in my simplified domain, I'll uncheck all, I'll check just simplified, and that'll update my results. Now I'm actually going to go back and do all, and now this time I'm actually going to break this out so I can see what the total is in each domain. And so you can see how easy it is working with IT Analytics to get this information returned without having to write a complex and difficult report. One other thing that I want to show you with IT Analytics, and under our dashboards, computer inventory. So a lot of instances where you're asked for different data, when you can provide color graphs, that's an advantage for you, and usually management responds a little bit more positively to that. So this is similar information to what I've been building in my cube, but it's just being presented in a graph format. And if I go back over here to my first window, we'll see that I'm under my key performance indicators now. So the dashboard we were looking at was the computer inventory dashboard, and the cube that I was working within is in the computers cube. What we're looking at now is actually a comprehensive KPI dashboard for key performance indicators that gives us a lot of data about what's going on. So we can see here that I have actually imported quite a few new computers here in the last 30 days. I've brought in 31. My goal is 100. The status is all green, and we're trending up. So again, very quickly, this is information that we can provide to management to satisfy some of those questions. Other than that, last thing I wanted to demo was actually the Client Management Suite Home portal. So in our console, we've organized things under Home, which basically equate to a portal for each solution. We have our management entry point, which we can get into, and any of the links in here, for the most part, will drop you into the Activity Center, which gets you that unified view. We have our action button, which we can go to do things like deploy software or gather inventory, roll out agents, or complete a deployment task. Then we have reports and settings. And again, this entire interface is customizable with a combination of security roles and resource scoping. What this means is that we can assign subsets of resources to certain roles within our console framework, so that when we have a user in a certain department log in, we can allow them to use the features of the console, but only allow them to manage resources that they have responsibility over. So these are great features of the integrated platform that allow us to more effectively manage those. So that will do it for today's demo. I hope I've given you a little bit of taste of how easy it is and how efficient we can be working within the Client Management Suite. Again, there's a lot of functionality within IT Analytics, and combining that with workflow and the other solutions within the Client Management Suite that help you rapidly respond to management requests and, of course, your organizational needs. That's it for today. I want to thank everybody for attending, and have a great weekend. Thank you.